Hello and welcome to our Valentines trinket box using Rinea foiled papers. You will need a wooden trinket box which is being prepared here with a black gesso from Pretty Gets Pretty, an anti-static bag, Oma's postcard stamp by Rinea, and the Love Variety Pack from Rinea. And we're going to start off with some white squid ink from Jane Davenport. So this is a hybrid ink pad, so it's part pigment, part dye. And you're just going to apply that to your stamp. So I've literally got my stamp flat on the desk, no platform. And we're going to roll our box along the stamp. Keep a good firm pressure and it shouldn't slip. Like so. And again on the other side. If you miss anywhere, don't worry. Just go with it. So you're going to set that to dry. Now we're going to work on our lid. So I've already gone over the lid with the anti-static bag, which is why you can see that kind of dusting. I'm going to clean off most of that white ink. And this time I'm going to use the essential glue pad, but you could also use a really sticky embossing pad. So we're going to go over our stamp. So with your glue pad, you have a little plastic insert, so it's important that you keep that and use it whenever you put your pad away. Then we're going to get the top from our box, and I've just brought in my tidy tray so I can literally go straight to our tidy tray. So give it a good firm press down onto your stamp. Now we're going to lift it off and pop it in the tidy tray. So the glue pad is clear, so you do want to just tilt it to the light so you can see how it's stamped before you do this next step. So I'm going to cover it with white detail embossing powder. Tap off the excess. And there may be a few places where it's still clinging, even with using the anti-static bag. And that's just because we're working onto gesso. So we can give that a quick clean with a brush. I'm just going roughly around the edges. Then you can give it a little tap. If there's anywhere that you accidentally brush off, you can actually reapply a bit more to the area that's missing. So you can see that I'm going between the lines of the text. And then just dotting on if anything gets missed off. Okay. So next we're going to want to heat that. So I have a 2 temperature heat gun, so you're going to put this on the hottest setting to get it to melt. Now you want to be really careful when you're doing this so that you don't burn your fingers. And do try to preheat your heat gun first for a little bit before taking it to your project. So you can see as it goes bolder and shinier, that means it's melted. You don't want to go too far, otherwise you can start to flatten your embossing and you lose that definition that you get. Okay. So I'm just going to heat set the white on the sides as well, because I'm going to be going over with some spray, so you want to make sure that that is set before you do so. But you can do that on the lower temperature if you have a 2 heat gun. So just to avoid my work surface getting too messy, I'm just going to work onto a bamboo sheet. And I'm using some Pretty Gets Pretty Amazing spray in blush. So I'm not literally covering it, I'm just dotting it with the spray. Now I'm going to use the heat gun again on low, not on high, because we don't want to remelt that embossing powder at the top. So as we're working onto gesso and not onto acrylic, you'll find that the spray dries a lot quicker. And it leaves behind this gorgeous shimmer. And where that spray's gone onto the embossing powder, the colour is going to show. So you get a little tinge of pink. So now with our box decorated, it's time to start building up our decoration. So I'm going to be using one from each of the colours, and I want to do a mix of the Starstruck and the Glossy, but mainly focusing on the Starstruck because then you have colour on both sides. And I'm going to be using some La Blanche flower dies, and you want ones that look like a flat flower rather than a shaped flower. So you can see I've pulled out a little pair of flat flowers that I can build up into a 3D flower. And then I'm going to pull out a slightly larger one, like so. And I'm going to cut one of each of these dies from each sheet. So I'm going to work down onto my cutting mat. for my cutting plate. And let's start with the let's go Rinea. So next thing is to make sure you've got the right side of the paper with the star struck. So on one side you'll notice the stars look slightly fuzzier. So that's the back of the paper, and you want to make sure that you are cutting from the front and through. So I'm just attaching them with some masking tape so they don't move, because we don't want to damage our dies. So by avoiding them shifting, they shouldn't be able to overlap and damage each other. So that can then go through our die cutting machine. And we're going to do that for each of the pieces. So with the die cut flowers, you're going to want to use ball tools such as the large ball tool by Tonic, which you can see here, or a finer embossing tool to add detail. And we're going to shape those from the outside of the petal inwards, working from the back, and then flip it over and just press it down in the middle. And I'm working onto a stamping mat, so that has some nice foamy give to it. Once they're shaped, you can then glue them on using a hot glue gun. And that would be my recommended glue for you to use. Don't try and do this with PVA, it doesn't work. So you can see I'm just trying to slide open that lid so we don't end up meaning that we can't open our trinket box. So with this flower that I'm just doing here, you want to make sure that it's low enough that that lid can still close over the top neatly, and do double check. Because there's nothing worse than getting to the end and realising you can't open your box easily. So you're going to build it up so that you have two of the larger flowers on the top with one little one, and one large flower on the bottom with two little ones. You can always use an embossing tool just to help it switch down into that glue a bit better. Saves your fingers. And then a bit more for that inside layer. So because this one's so little, it's easier to do it with tweezers. Okay, now that's a set for a moment. Then we're going to bring in some little gems. So these are actually self-adhesive, but it's actually better with a project like this to actually fix them into some hot glue. so that they stay there permanently. So I'm just going to put a little dot of glue in it, and then we can pop in one of the gems. Now this is the fiddly bit, especially when you're wearing a bandage. So be patient, and you can always use a pokey tool to just get it in the right place. That's why you need to leave it a little longer. So if it does ping off at this point, just add in a little extra glue and just stick it back in place. For the larger flowers, you can actually add 3 of the little gems. And if you make sure that they're all at different angles, they'll actually capture the lights at different times, so you get a really sparkly effect. So we're just pushing those into the hot glue. And you can do the same with the flowers on the side too. So if you didn't want to go to this trouble on the sides, you don't have to. But it's definitely easier if you have a friend to help at this point. So thank you to Ian for helping for this one. And there we go. If you do get any little threads of glue gun, you can always blow those away with a blow dryer. So thank you for watching today, and we look forward to seeing you again on the channel soon. Bye for now.